Hello and welcome to iNews, International Network for Women Speakers. I am going to be hosting a very special guest from the island of Mauritius today, and I'm really excited to introduce her. So I met Corinne last year when I spent a little bit of time in Mauritius. Corinne comes from a journalism background and she started a PR consultancy. But what I love about Corinne is she's just got this heart for women. And I think this is going to be such an insightful conversation. Corinne, I'm not going to talk too much about you. Why don't you tell the ladies a little bit about who you are and what you're about, and then we can dive right in.
Thank you, Chantal, and hello, everyone. So my name is Corinne Robert, and I was born on the beautiful island of Réunion Island, which is a country in the Indian Ocean next to Mauritius. And I used to be a journalist, and then I became a PR consultant here in Mauritius. And I love meeting people, and that's how I met Chantal. I'm sorry for the noise. That's part
I
of
love
the
it. It's those very narrow streets. Everything happens right here, right? Oh, good. Well, you know what? Corinne and I were chatting last week just in terms of preparation for this event. And, put two women in a room and start brainstorming ideas that affect women, that affect speakers across the world. And of course, the ideas just multiplied. But you know where I'm going to start? On Saturday, we celebrated International Women's Day. And you and I were having a chat last week about, is this International Women's Day still relevant? Has it become a marketing stunt? Is it now a publicity stunt? And I think that would be a great way to start our conversation in the context of women speakers around the world. What is your opinion, Corinne?
Well, I'm evolving in the communication sector, and I can see that some of my not clients, but I can notice that the 8th of March has become for certain companies an excuse to communicate, but using this event as to propose a promotion or a discount on products and services, or associate this day with a product like a car. However, and probably because there are more and more women in the communication sector, there are more and more meaningful events like podcasts, like debates, training. And this really has changed, I think, for the past, let's say, 5 years, that you have more and more women as leaders and team leaders, and they are not giving a flower, a rose, because as I used to say to one of my clients, listen, that's very nice, but I can afford to buy a full bouquet every day. I don't need one rose on the 8th of March, which made him laugh. So he told me, what should I do? And that's how I managed to give him and share with him some advice.
Absolutely. And I think ultimately we need to be cautious of going this commercial angle. And there's so many events that have taken up this commercial angle. But let's come back to what iNews is all about. iNews is all about giving underrepresented women speakers an opportunity to shine on the global stage. It's about building those collaborative networks. It's about that sisterhood. It's about supporting one another. And when you and I spoke last week, debate raged, and I think we'll try and keep it tidy today, but debate raged about how women actually profess to support one another, but they don't, or we don't. There's still a lot of competition, snide comments, all of that sort of thing. So what can we do as women to get past this angst that we have in building relationships with one another? How can we start creating meaningful networks of women around the world?
Well, as women, we may not realize how rich we are. We tend to focus a lot on the judgment, and sometimes the critique. And something that we often do is to compare ourselves with others. This is very specific. I have noticed all along my career how women tend to compare themselves. If you compare yourself all the time, you're not making space to work on yourself and to discover your uniqueness. And this is how, first of all, we would be able to realize how rich we are. We are rich also, for example, I was born in a multicultural society, community, and that's also part of our wealth because that helps us to be flexible, to have more agility, to adapt ourselves to different culture. It helps, it gives us also a different way to look at the world. And that also helped me a lot in my career when I travel. I mean, I have no problem to adapt myself to one country or the others. Another specificity is that we tend to listen to this little voice in our head, which means that we manufacture, we have this factory of stories that we tell to ourselves, like, I am the first woman to do that in my family. What would people say? Oh, I don't dare asking for a loan of 1 million to the bank. Men don't ask themselves these kind of questions. They just go for it. And we have the same ability. We have the same, we tend to be sometimes more creative, innovative, but the obstacles is sometimes ourselves. So when we will start to manufacture our own story, there will be a mental shift. However, Chantal, I have also to highlight that during my career, I have been supported a lot by men, but I have been sometimes disappointed by women attitude. Again, this disease of comparison. You know, I can give you an example. Like I hear in the workplace that the new generation, oh, it's so difficult to work with them. What I tend to do is to look at it in a different perspective. What can I learn from them? They know so much how to use the smartphone to make nice videos. That's part. They were born with that. That's part of them. So how can we work? I don't know that. When I meet a lady and she talks about she's good at Excel, that's a nightmare for me. I will ask her, can you please teach me? Because, and I'm amazed when I'm learning new things. So the idea also, I love this word empower because you don't have this word in French. It means what it means. It means that you open the door for somebody, you send an email, an introduction email, or just like you and Nirja, for example, inviting me to join today this session. When we extend the community, when we share a platform, a forum, we are creating also great connection. Today, the world is a village. We don't have the excuse, or I'm going to write a letter, or I'm going to send a fax. Remember fax? That was woo, many years ago. Nowadays, you have so many platforms, Teams, Zoom, you name it. And you can connect with people even on WhatsApp. You can schedule meetings and everything. That's fantastic tools. Well,
Absolutely.
ladies, let's use it. Let's use it in our advantage.
You know, so much of what you say resonates, but I'm still going to come back to, and I'm going to share with you what you and I were speaking about last week. You know, I've got a little WhatsApp group of women, and there's, I don't know, 50, 60 women on the WhatsApp group, and it's just a little side project to support one another, right? And I issued a challenge about 2 weeks ago to the ladies, and I said, let us get to know one another. We're not about selling to one another. We're not about comparing to one another. Let's just get to know one another. So I challenged each of them to reach out and schedule a chat with someone new. Meet someone new, expand your horizons, learn about your sister, as it were. Do you know, out of that entire group, I think two people scheduled a meeting. And I come back to, you talk about this comparisonitis. You talk about, how men make these bold career moves, but women, we've got this narrative in our head that holds us back. What is it going to take for us to step up to the plate and reach out to another woman and start building a relationship? Because we are our own worst enemy when it comes to this. What message do you have for women, just to say to them, break out of that mold, reach out, become a friend?
It's initiatives like the one that Naja and yourself you are putting together. I know that, for example, when I met you, you reached out to different people and you were having breakfast with them. And it was a little group of us who met. I mean, you introduced me to Nirja. I mean, the sisters all around the world, first of all, they need to understand that, for example, you and me, or when they see somebody who is comfortable speaking, we were not born like this. We worked on it. How? By attending events. Check your LinkedIn. Join a mentoring program. Dare to ask the questions, even if you're not feeling comfortable at the beginning. Go out there. My mom used to tell me, if we don't have, for example, this year money to go on holiday, travel with books, learn. You have nowadays amazing platforms online to learn for free. LinkedIn, for example, get yourself the skills, and when in your community you have an event, maybe you don't have the money if you start your career to attend a lot of networking event or a lot of debates, because that's also a budget. But whenever you have an event that you can attend, that could be in your company or in a sister company, or in your community, you do have even on like today's for free. Join the table, bring your chair to the table. Small victories. Nothing will happen and change amazingly overnight. But small victories, like it's, I just remember the first time I used to go to networking events, I was feeling awkward. I didn't know who am I going to speak to? Uh, am I going to say? Am I not going to look silly? The same when the first time I was on stage, and Chantal, I'm sure you can relate to that. The first
Oh,
time
yeah.
you are in front of an audience, I mean, I was not like Oprah Winfrey in front of a stage. I didn't like nowadays with experience. When you have the experience, the shift is like to think again about all these narratives, as you say, that we're telling to ourselves. Just try, get out of your comfort zone. When you are in your comfort zone, it means you're not learning something new today. I have a friend of mine, and she's working on becoming, for example, a coach. I told her, listen, why don't you um, allocate 30 minutes, even 15 minutes per day to make your dreams come true? 15 minutes while reading something about your dream job or a new skills you would like to have, watching a video on YouTube, listening to a podcast in your car. 15 minutes, you feel like I did something for myself. Because
Yes.
another thing, Chantal, that we do, women, we have this natural skill, not natural, we learn it to multitask. So I'm fully aware that you do have. I am single. I don't have kids. I can allocate easily sometimes for myself to improve, to grow on a specific topics. Not everyone has this possibility. You have to juggle with the kids, the schools, the husband. You need to allocate time for everyone. However, when you are in your car, the car, you can listen to a podcast if you're sitting in a traffic, you know? And
You know,
sorry.
I always, just on that note, I always say to my clients when I'm busy coaching clients, the biggest resistance is I don't have time, right? And a mindset shift takes time. And we're talking about shifting this mindset to supporting women, right? And I always say to my clients, net time, lovely. So net time stands for no extra time. And it's finding these dead pockets of time in the day, driving, showering, toilet time, cooking, shopping. There are actually so many, and I'm talking about brain dead pockets of time, things that you're busy with collecting the kids, but you could apply your mind to something else. And this is what prefaces growth. So
100%.
so what I'm hearing from you is, and I'm just going to kind of bring this together, this making time for growth and supporting one another. Now, as a speaking community, next week we're celebrating Professional Speakers Celebration Day, which has been going for 3 years, still in its infancy. But it started when Robert Cavett, the founder of National Speakers Association in the US, said, let's create this association to bring all of our speakers together. And someone basically said to him, but then we're going to have to cut the pie into smaller pieces. And he said, no, we just make the pie bigger. And this is the mindset shift that us women need to get to. It is through relationships that we make the pie bigger. So how can we reach out to people and make this pie bigger through shifting mindsets and prioritizing relationships over things like Netflix, perhaps?
Exactly, but that this they usually I'm in PR, and networking and connection is very important. And let me give you an example: LinkedIn. Uh, in a LinkedIn, the way you connect with people, it's not only to go and look at some post. It's to like the post, to make a comment, which means that you will learn also from the others, to share your opinion. Your voice matters. That's why we have the 8th of March. It's to commemorate the ladies who came before us and did a fantastic job for me today to have a passport, to be able to travel alone, to be able to have a bank card. That was a fight, and that's recent fight. That was in the 1970s. We tend to forget that. So when you have a network for LinkedIn, and let's say you don't know how to use it, find somebody like me, for example. If a lady is reaching out to me and say, listen, I would like to know how to use and navigate on this platform, I will happily help. The exchange of services. I don't know how to use Excel. Maybe we can do an exchange, and you teach me a little bit about Excel, I teach you about LinkedIn and social media, which is key nowadays to communicate and create visibility. That's how you start, in fact, to help each other. Like on LinkedIn, I was connected recently with a lady. She lives in Prague. She told me, I have no budget, but can you help me? And or how can we exchange? I said, yeah, why not? I mean, let's extend. It will be also an experience for me to better understand her product, which I didn't know. She would like to launch retreat in India. I found this so original. And like, it's helping. I know I am equipped with the skills that she doesn't have. She has a high idea. Again, as you said, it's time management. And I will allocate like 20 minutes every 2 days to share with her and to give her advice. I believe in mentoring. I think that's how we can create more self-confidence and
Yes.
self-awareness for women. We, in my career, I have noticed that women tend to not have self-confidence. Men don't have self-confidence. But when they go and play golf, and what is trendy, for example, right now is to go and play paddle, a sport, they go, they speak, they exchange advice again, exchanging advice, not judging, not starting the sentence by, if I were you, no, 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 you're not me, you're not walking in my shoes. However, what happened to me, how I tackle an issue, a problem, how we could work to develop your skills. You know, Chantal, kindness is something that has always existed. We should start to use kindness, change our vocabulary, starting to talking to us better, and then make a compliment. Tell the other woman, I see you, I hear you, you are important. That's how we can create another dynamic.
That's it. And I love the way you've almost reframed mentorship, because sometimes we almost resist mentorship and we think, oh, I can't reach out and ask for mentorship, and I can't trouble someone or whatever it might be. And you've reframed it in terms of, well, let's go and play a game of paddle and let's pick each other's brains. And let's also remember that money is not the only currency with which to exchange. We can exchange our skills, we can exchange our ideas, we can exchange our time. And you know what? Worst case scenario, we walk away and we've had a good game of paddle. Not my thing, but yeah.
It
We've built a
can be
relationship.
paddle, it can be yoga, it can be let's go for a walk. I practice Kung Fu. In the Shaolin culture, they tell you when you are stuck, move, move. Because when you move, go for a walk, your energy change, your mental change. Even it, like we not all of us have the money to go and do some expensive stuff. Okay, then go for a walk. It's for free. I am blessed to live on an island. So what I will do is that I will just tell a friend, let's go on the beach, walk on the beach. We believe that ocean therapy is the best. I know you believe that too. That's why you're
I
coming back
do.
to us. You
Exactly.
want to go for a walk on the beach. So you just there, you feel better. You talk, and again, it's not about the quantity. I am evolving in a world on Instagram and Facebook, on any other social media, it's all about the number of likes. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. The quality of people. Surround yourself with people who speaks good about you when you're not in the room. Surround yourself with people who are lifting you, who eyes are shining when they see you because they sincerely want you to succeed. There's no comparison. Again, comparison, I think it's the worst thing that we women tend to do to each other. I will be happy, Chantal, to help you when you thrive. I'm going to say, oh, look, my friend. Or I know Chantal, not for a long time. She's thriving. Good for her. Good. So, but like it's again changing. And when we talk about the glass ceiling, that's how you say it in English, the glass ceiling, ladies, we are the one who are supporting this glass ceiling. For now, we had our great grandmother to start to crack the glass ceiling, but sometimes when I meet some feminine leaders who don't think anymore about the others, I tend to think that we are the one now who are carry on the glass.
Perpetuating. Correct.
Exactly, exactly.
Correct.
Because again, wait a second. It's you need to help somebody who have true motivation and competencies, or need to help to go to next level. It's I'm not in favor of helping a woman because she's a woman. I'm in
I agree.
favor of helping somebody who really wants to write a new chapter in her life, get to another level, struggling with the problem, and I may have the solution. It's not about the gender, it's about also the competency and authenticity of the person I have in front of me.
Absolutely. I love that. And you know what? I'm going to bring that back almost to, I'm going to kind of zoom out for a moment here. And the theme of our conversation today is we are rich. Ladies, we are rich. And
Exactly.
it's something you've referred to a few times in your conversation, but I just want to dive in and just kind of highlight this and make this a bit of a stopping point for us. Um, so often we talk about the legacy that we are trying to create, the legacy that we are building right here. But let's not forget about the woman who went before us, who created the foundation of legacy that we can use to continue. So I'm going to ask you perhaps a personal question. Which woman in your family did something remarkable? What is the legacy that you draw from? What is that story, that foundational story that inspires you?
I have her picture just in front of me, and purposely I have printed and framed her picture. It's my great grandmother who came from India at the age of 5 with her dad on a boat. They are from Kerala, and her father passed away on the boat. So she was an orphan at the age of 5. She has left her country. She was educated by nuns, and she became a small entrepreneur. She was selling fruits and veg, and she was wearing trousers, excuse me, at that for that time. And so, and her resilience and the fact that she came all this way. When I sometimes want to complain, I'm just looking at her picture. It's not a weight. It's not like a heavy weight, like, oh, I need to give it back. It's more, I'm telling to myself, I am not alone. My
Yes.
grandmother also, she worked in the sugarcane field, and she had 11 kids, and one after the other. And she used to put the babies in a safe place and helped extra hours, my grandfather. And, like, this is a kind of generation, they sacrifice themselves. So that gives me a different perspective. Like, when I'm like, when I went back to India, I smiled to myself because I said, hey, great grandma, I'm going back. I'm the first one in the family. I'm going back to India. I'm so proud on holiday. Like, like, I can't, and I can't stay. I can sit with my emotions. I learned that to sit with the emotion and rebound. It took me years. Uh, I'm still, I used to be ashamed of my vulnerability. Now I'm sharing it with other women. Like, even Wonder Woman, she needs a shoulder to cry on. She needs to put a knee down. And when I see all the women around me, amazing women who are multitasking, I'm just like, we need to remind ourselves and put things into perspective. We are here today because in the history, there are so many women who survived to be able for us to be here. So it's not as if I don't have the right to fail, because failure is part of the journey, but that gives me a little kick, a boost, if
Yes.
I may say.
It's almost like it reframes, and I want to use the word duty here. it is our duty to go forward. It is our duty to take this message to the world. It is our duty to stand up fully in who we are and share our message and inspire and empower, from there, because not so much of who we are, but because of the women who have come before us, who've made these sacrifices. And I think that's so incredibly powerful.
100%. In Reunion Island, we did a fantastic work on our roots. And we created, because people didn't dare talking, a lot of times women don't dare talking because it's too painful. I am ashamed. You know what is interesting is how you manage to rebound in life. We all come up with our emotional luggage. The beauty, you were talking about the duty, I would say the beauty. The beauty of it is how we manage to rewrite the story, with even if, because that's why for me, and I honor every year, every day, whenever I can, women with amazing resilience, because we go through a lot of obstacle and still we manage to find the way to stand up. When I was a journalist, I met a lady. She had a bullet here, like a fragment of a bullet, because in the
Oh, wow.
middle of the night, she took her kids and she escaped her house in the middle of the night, and the husband was shooting her. And
Oh,
she
wow.
told me, this will be a reminder. The doctor, surgeon cannot remove it because it's a little bit risky. And she told me, that woman said, I did it for my kids. Excuse me, you have heroes who don't wear a cap. This woman, for me, she's a hero. She's like on the top for me. I was like, step back. And like, as the Association of Speakers, it's giving us amazing platform to talk about ourselves, you know, to talk about ourselves, to tell to the other sisters, hey, you can do it. Look what happened to me. That's how I found the strength to rebound. Maybe you will find, if we inspire each other, because you were asking the questions, because women are more, we also have this specificity, which is our instinct. And if we just, like, listened to ourselves, to each other's stories, this bond that we have with the community, that's how we just say, we are not alone.
That's
We
it.
are not alone. Look, I will give you an example. You were telling me earlier which woman I admire. Look at Giselle Pellicot. You heard about this woman who was drugged and raped in France. There was the trial. She had, in France, you had the possibility to go behind closed door for the trial. She decided, it was nearly 1 month, to go every day, open the door, because I want other victims to hear about my story and to not feeling ashamed anymore. That's
Wow.
how, that's how, that's how you can just say, I'm not alone. I'm not the
Absolutely.
I'm not the only, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I don't sleep sometimes at night. I'm worried about the finance. I'm worried about, am I going to get more clients? How am I going to tackle with that? And when I speak to other solo entrepreneur, it's kind of a relief to tell to
Yes,
myself, oh, she's going through, or he going through the same thing.
that's it. But again, you raised such a valid point, and I had lunch with Charlotte Kemp yesterday. Many of the ladies know her. Yes, I'm name dropping. It's shameless, I know. But we were talking about how the women of, let's call it the olden days, used to meet in these salons, And the only way these women knew about things like childbirth or menopause or whatever we were facing as women was through conversation in these salons. It was not through a mental health professional. It was not from the doctor. It was having these intimate conversations to know we're not alone. And both Charlotte and I were talking about how we almost feel like there's a return, there's a move coming where women are going to be encouraged to regroup in these salon-like settings. And maybe your salon is a Zoom room, right? It doesn't matter. But it's time for us to get together and and I also always say to my clients, it is in dialogue that we make sense of what is going on inside. That's where we eradicate the shame. That's where we see that my challenge is actually your challenge, is everyone else's challenge. So let's collectively solve this instead of feeling so alone. So, what is your
100%. I fully agree with you. Sorry.
So I was going to say, what is your view, particularly in the speaker community? How do we create these salon type of settings where we can start releasing shame and where we can encourage this collaboration and this real relationship building?
I think already like these initiatives help to liberate the speech. You know, by it's as if we are there's sense we do it ourselves. There's a censorship that we practice, auto censorship that we practice to not speak. I'm ashamed to talk. You know, before talking in a company when I'm 51. So when I started to work, I started to work. I was 18. Talking about period, it was a joke. Like, you're upset because you have your period. Go and say that nowadays to a woman. You will see how she will feel confident to reply to you. Sometimes, most of the time, using sense of humor. Now, we have started, at least in Mauritius or even in Vranian Island, to talk about menopause in the workplace because we
It's
are
about
going
time.
through flash, we go, we hot and everything. This is not a shame. And when
Absolutely.
you start to talk about even on this kind of forum, but also in event when women can get together, not only women, because I mean, I'm not for this kind of opposition with men and, you know, like they are against us. I mean, we, who is raising the boys? Women. So
True.
that starts at home. So when you start, in fact, to talk about, you know, your daily struggle, when you start to talk about what maybe seemed to be a taboo, you know, that's when you start to free the speech. That's when you start but have you noticed that there's also a kind of trend right now of nostalgia? There's a
Yeah.
nostalgia about the good, the good woman who was cooking and baking and stay at home. There's
Yes.
all there is this trend. You can see it on Instagram. The ladies who are, you have these reels and they are cooking and telling you, "I can do it." So you
Yes.
do have the two, you know, the two coexisting
So,
between, you know, this generation who is for me amazing in the way of their approaching things. Let me give you an example. My niece, she came here, she was on training, and I was asking her questions. What are you going to do for your studies in 2 years' time and everything? She told me, listen, Tata, um, let's enjoy the lunch. Let's be in the moment. This is far away. And a lot of them are telling us to do this. Be mindful. So we need to learn from each other and get new words in our vocabulary also.
That's it. Absolutely. And you know what? I love the fact that you keep bringing these examples and they're just so poignant, which brings me to another sort of pillar, I suppose. And I'm making notes because I've got a couple of pillars to our conversation that I'm going to start bringing it into. But there's another pillar to this concept of supporting women sort of globally, and that's storytelling. And it's something you have done with absolute aplomb and ease throughout our conversation. You know, we introduce a concept and then you go into, let me tell you an example. Let me share how this looks, right? So how can we, oh, I love that comment from Dr. Olka. Let's create more salons like iNews. I am so down for that. How can we as women use this pillar of storytelling to start breaking down this comparisonitis that you spoke about earlier?
I will share an advice that I usually share on my daily practice as a PR consultant with my clients. And there's a lot of women, like you and me, for example, Chantal, we speak a lot. We have a lot to say, blah, 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 blah. Now, you have the other side, the women who have a lot to say but don't dare telling it. Now, go with three bullet points. Go with three bullet points for to structure your storytelling. Like, for example, you need to talk about the multicultural background. Or you can be raised in a monoculture. And then when you start traveling, you are going to incredible India, going to Africa, like traveling and going Europe and you're amazed. So that could be also one thing you would like to share with somebody. It needs to be by topics. And you need to, as I worked with, there's a trend, which is not going to be a trend, but I think it's going to be for a long time now. It's the personal branding. When you do personal branding, which means you structure your ideas, that means that it allows you, it's not about creating a fake character, you know? It's about
Yes.
authenticity. It's about tapping into this wealth that you have, where you were born, who influenced you, how do you articulate your ideas? What is your business journey? What are your mistakes? Maybe your mistakes are going to help me to change the way I see things. Talk about your travel, and that's also tips when you go to a networking event. Instead of saying, "Hi, my name is Corinne Robert." First of all, you can ask questions like, I'm just back from Cape Town. I found this amazing. I love this and this and that. Where have you been on holiday? What was your last holidays? Or where next would you like to go? Something like this. Or I read a book and I found this book fantastic. I just read the five Toltec agreement. I love it. Have you ever heard about this book? I strongly advise you to read it. It's by this exchange of ideas, of concept, or I don't know, I love Esther Perel. Her podcasts are amazing. She's talking about the fact that we have 10,000 likes on Instagram, but we can't, if we are sick, we can't find somebody to go to the pharmacy for us or feed our cat. This gap that we have in our society. So that's quite amazing to explore.
That is beyond amazing. That is, can I say it? Disgusting. You know, the bottom line is we're living in a society that is so hyper interconnected, and I love that sort of disparity that you highlight. I've got 10,000 followers on Instagram, hyper connected, uber cool influencer doing my thing. But you know what? If I get sick, or if my cat gets sick, or if I need help, there's no one that can help me.
Exactly.
I'm intentionally pausing there because I really want the gravitas of this to sink in. You know, and again, I'm going to bring it back to us as women speakers. Many of us are entrepreneurs. Many of us juggle multiple hats. We speak, we coach, we train, we travel, we write, we do all of these different things, right? And we are so busy driving the business that what is the thing that suffers? Relationships.
Exactly. Like if you're looking, you were talking about role models and looking around as community women who inspire us. When I'm looking, for example, at Maya Angelou, the American activist and also poetess, I mean, her life was not easy. Oprah Winfrey, her life was not easy. When you look at somebody like Simone de Beauvoir in France, she's also an author, or somebody that I really admire too. Her name now. I'm telling you, I'm 51. I forget things. She's. I can't remember now her name. A minister. Anyway, all of them have in common, like there's a starting point of a dramatic events that happened into their life, and I like I like this sentence which says, "I am not defined by what happened to me. I am defined by how what I choose to become." Like that means that even if you had a bad start in your life, you still have the opportunity at any age, to start again. And that's fantastic. And that is no gender. That's for everyone.
Yes.
That's the good
I love
news.
it.
We are rich.
We are rich. Absolutely. And you know what? On that note, I think what I'm going to do is no, I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to talk about the pillars that I've heard you say throughout this conversation that point to we are rich. But before I get onto that question, our audience is international women speakers, a lot of them from underrepresented sort of environments like Afghanistan, Mauritius, even, not as well recommended in the global speaking community or as well represented. What would be your advice to every woman listening here to take back her power and stand on that global stage?
Learn, learn. As we were talking about time management, as you said, like, for example, on Saturday, I connected to this talk with the ladies from Afghanistan. That was the idea, was also to express to them that we can see you, we can hear you, despite what's going on there. Learn. And I have learned so much from them. I think that, again, women, we're not courageous every day, but we are brave. And these women, they are brave. They are the perfect example of being brave. And you learn on yourself when you speak to others. You learn about new things when you speak to others. So I think that the take home value, if that could be the take home value for today's our talk, is really, and if anything, learn also, maybe reflect on your own journey. What did I learn from that? What did I learn from what happened to me? I think the word learn is one of my favorite.
I love that. And you know what, the permutations around learn, because in order to learn something, we've generally got to unlearn something else. And also
Exactly.
to unlearn something, we've got to bring that sense of humility. And I talk about humility from the perspective of I don't know. what I don't know. You know, we've got to bring that to the table. And I'm almost thinking this is such a great way to sort of zip up our conversation today, because everything that we're talking about as women, if we can approach it from this learning mindset, if we can approach it from this humility mindset, this, I don't know what I don't know. What else can I learn? What else can I discover? Wouldn't that shift things like comparisonitis? Wouldn't that shift this perpetual threat that we feel when it comes to other women?
100%. You know, in Africa, there's this Ubuntu tradition. I am because we are. So, connecting to what I was saying earlier, we are not alone. We are not alone because great great grandmothers, I don't know, my ancestors, she survived from the French Revolution. She survived from the dinosaur. She survived Middle Ages where women were treated like witches sometimes. She survived all that. But most of all, we have sisters nowadays all over the world where what I'm going through may be somebody else in Cape Town, sitting in Cape Town, in Morocco, in India, in France. She's going through the same, you know, and it's only by connecting to each other, um, without this jealousy, comparison, judgmental, toxic attitude, that we will help ourselves and we will help each other.
Absolutely.
There's no other way.
Absolutely. 100% agree. And I think on that note, I'm going to reflect back to you the learnings I've taken from this call. Because you said this conversation is all about we are rich. So I want to remind our listeners of, what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that I've written down that we can use to remind ourselves that we are rich. Number one, we are rich because of our culture. We've spoken about culture. We've spoken about this multicultural world that we belong to. We are rich because of our culture. We are rich because of the legacy of the woman that went before us. We are rich because of the relationships that we have with our fellow speakers, our fellow women, just the relationships we have. We are rich because of storytelling, and this is where intergenerational learning can start weaving its magic. And then lastly, my personal favorite, we are rich because of who we are. This is our identity. You spoke about personal brand. It's about standing in that identity and saying, this is me. No apology, no excuse. So I don't know, how do you feel about those 5 pillars? Culture, legacy, relationships, storytelling, and identity. That is how we are rich today.
I fully agree. I think that it's really well summarized, in fact, how women can tackle into this wealth, invisible wealth that they can carry with them no matter where they are, no matter where they travel. But that's really, you know, it's superpower that we have, and we can tackle into these superpowers, we have a lot, to bring and feel confident to bring our chair to the table, whether it's a boardroom, whether it's to get a promotion, ask for a salary raise, have a hard talk with our manager, or also reply to a job advert for a better position, because our we have our own story to share with the world. And we shouldn't be ashamed of that. We should be proud.
Absolutely. And if ever you are tempted to feel ashamed, you just pick up the phone and you call me, right? Or you call Corinne, either one of us, set you straight, quick sticks.
I will be on the other side. No problem. I can invite you to go for a walk on the beach.
Corinne, what I'm going to do is, as we start wrapping up, I am going to issue you a challenge, and then I'm going to issue the challenge to our audience as well, and then I'm going to start closing. The challenge is, are you going to pick up the phone and schedule some time with someone who you perhaps haven't built a relationship with yet this week?
I'm doing it just after this call. I have a call with someone that I've never met, and she said, "Let's have a Zoom." I met her through the WhatsApp platform. We connected on LinkedIn, and she said, "Let's have a call." I said, "Yes." You know, the power of saying also no, but the power of saying yes, yes to new adventure and new connection.
Absolutely. And incidentally, I'm meeting with a woman from the US tomorrow. Same story. We met through International Speakers Association, and we've decided to have this coffee. So I think I'm sharing this really because of our audience. I really want to encourage our audience to not just listen and go, wow, that's interesting. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to take away. But I'm encouraging our audience to dig in, to take these lessons home and to adopt a new way of living. For me personally, I reach out. I have one networking meeting a week. May not necessarily be women. It very often is women. But that's my standard for myself. I try to meet one new person a week. And this is not about sales. It's about building those relationships that the Bible says it beautifully. Iron sharpens iron, because it's in relationship that we can chip off those rough edges. Sometimes not comfortable, but absolutely important.
100%. That's the way. Make this commitment with yourself once per week.
Absolutely. 100%.
Meet someone new once per week over the phone, by Zoom, in a face-to-face for a coffee. Meet someone new. You would be amazed how it can
Absolutely.
be life-changing experience.
100%. So we are going to check on the WhatsApp group and see who has followed this recommendation. But Corinne, it has been an absolute pleasure hosting you. On behalf of iNews, I also just want to say thank you to Neerja for giving me the opportunity to host this interview. It's been a lovely, lovely experience, and we will see everyone on the WhatsApp group. Corinne, thank you so much.
Thank you very
There we go. All right, so just a very quick reminder, if anyone wants to host a session like this for iNews, reach out to Neerja, chat to us on the WhatsApp group. It's your platform. Thank you.